I'm solo at the moment. Welcome to First Frames First, episode 87. We have a very special guest today, a local Kitchener-Waterloo artist extraordinaire, playwright, actor, director, and his name is Gary Kirkham, and we're gonna join with him in just a moment. He's going to tell us all about himself and kind of what he's doing in the KW region, and we're going to talk about the art scene a little bit today, which we're pretty excited to do. Adrian, who knows where that guy is? He's late today, so we're getting started, and whenever he pops in, we're going to add him. He's probably going to apologize a few times, and then we're going to continue on. So without further ado, we're gonna get the ball rolling today, and we'll welcome Gary in just a moment.
Hey guys, I'm Adrian.
And I'm Jay. We run Fable Forest Films.
Right now, we're totally independent.
Well, what's the dream?
Making crazy awesome film and television for the biggest studios.
This podcast is our journey. There we go. And we are live. Hi, Gary. Thanks for joining us.
Good to hear you.
So, Gary, what I'd like to do is, first, I think we should just tell the people a little bit about yourself. But what I really want to do is kind of go way back, because you've been an artist for some time, and like looking through the sheer volume of types of things that you've gotten involved with over the years.
Sure.
You feel like a true artist. Some people are musicians, some people are actors, some people make films, but you seem to taste everything, and you're like a Renaissance man, which I think is so great. Am I on mute? Can you hear me?
No, I can still hear you.
Oh, sweet. I pressed the button by accident. I'll just tell, just for the audience, I'll tell a story about, I'm pretty sure when I met you for the first time, if I can remember correctly, when there was a time in my life where I was trying to help other people with their film projects, and so there was there wasn't the same amount, I don't think, of Kitchener-Waterloo artists and film people working together as much as there are these days. So the Facebook groups and the local ads and things like that have grown, but back in the day I would even just see people looking for help on Kijiji and those types of online classified type things. And at one point there was a group of filmmakers called the 12 Angry Filmmakers. This was Duncan Finnegan, Lyndon Horsfeld, and many others. And they started this Facebook group to say, let's all get together as filmmakers in the Kitchener-Waterloo area, and we're going to make a series of 12 films over the course of a period of time, and then we're going to showcase them all together and bring everybody in, and we're going to have like a film night. And I helped Duncan on one of his, which I can't remember what the name of it was, other than I had to run a lot, and it was very difficult for me as a fatter man. And but when we all
is that the one in the van with
yeah
that's right.
I had to jump out the van and run down the street and climb 3 sets of stairs and then quietly wait at the top of the stairs while all the action happened.
Right.
Multiple times. So
that was a one take. That was a one taker too, wasn't it?
That was a one taker. Yeah, it was pretty cool. And so it really gave me a chance to meet a bunch of the people in the area. But what I really liked was we all sat down and to watch all of the films. And if I remember correctly, you had a short that you directed. Did you write it as well?
Directed and acted. Yeah, I directed, wrote, edited.
Exactly. And when I watched it, I was like, this is like the pinnacle of local indie filmmaking. If I remember correctly, we saw some men's butts.
Yes,
it was intense, and this was about I want to say 5 to 10 minute short. It was great. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks.
So
starring
maybe
starring Badia Abu Shakra, my partner of crime in that movie, who's a super famous actor in Lebanon, and he won Dancing with the Stars in Lebanon. So
no.
He's this really amazing B-level actor.
This is amazing. Is Gas Van Saint's huge in Lebanon? Is that what you're
telling me? Yes, it is. It's huge in Lebanon.
This is so great. So
we crossed the border with his face. His face got us over a border that we couldn't get over normally. We were going from I'll tell you that story later. But
okay. Yeah. Well, anyways, all I was going to say was that I think we all sat down. If I remember, I think that was the princess.
Yes, it was.
It was the princess. And as you do with local indie film stuff, everybody who makes something, they get up and they talk and they introduce their people and they have a little chat. And I think this was where I met you for the first time, and got to hear you speak and got to hear you tell your story about creating things and stuff like that. So that was a lot of fun. Now, what I'd love to hear is, can you now, why don't we just step it back a little bit and start to tell me, like, when did you want to get into film? Sure. And was that really your kind of first foray into the arts, or did you start much younger in different mediums?
I started when I was 18, so 40 years ago. Doing.
I didn't want to ask you your age. I mean,
exactly.
It seems so rude.
18, 40 years ago to the month I started my theater career.
Yes. And where did you start your theater career?
Okay, this is a funny story because I grew up in a conservative Christian family, and so the arts were kind of taboo. Like everything is to get people saved. And, dancing is evil. Dancing is evil because it leads. Sex is, and premarital sex is really bad because it leads to dancing. So
don't. Stay away from the sex because we don't want people dancing.
Yeah. That's right. No, exactly. And so I as an 18-year-old, I joined this missionary organization that had an arts wing to it, and it was fundamentalist. So we had a bunch of people who were artists, and they joined this missionary organization, and they were like, some of them were like serious artists. Like there was this dancer from New York and this French dancer, and like really, really talented people. And so we were all like, we were all kind of these artistic refugees in this Christian world. And within a really short period of time, maybe a year of being there, I loved art more than Jesus. And it was like, okay.
Next thing you knew, you were dancing.
I was dancing. I was going to gay bars, hanging out with my gay friends, and it was like, and that was it. It was that was the beginning of it, and I have not changed. That similar kind of thing where I was there wanting to use art to get the lost, save the lost, but now I'm still doing art, but I really want to ask questions and kind of make the world a better place as an atheist. But it's the same for me. It's the same kind of drive and almost like a calling. You feel like this is the only thing I can really do.
Well, we'll go back to the beginning, but the most recent thing that I watched of yours, and we'll try to, maybe you can entice us and tell us some secrets about what you might be working on next, and no crazy details, but the latest art installation that I watched of yours was pretty crazy. I didn't. Sometimes someone says, "This is what I'm doing,"
right?
And you say, "Okay, that's cool. That seems very strange, and I probably won't like it, but I'm gonna watch it anyways because this is the arts community here in town, and this is what we have to do." But you had some struggles, and we can talk about that in a second. But you created art with sand and a pendulum that would swing back and forth and create this pretty awesome sculpture
Right.
And in the background you had musical performers, and you ended up having to do it live, kind
Yes.
of from your living room,
Right.
if I remember correctly,
Yeah.
on video. What was the original plan, and can you tell us a little bit about this installation?
Yeah, so it's the sand pendulum, and basically a string with a large vessel with sand slowly pouring out, and it creates sort of like a spirograph, or if you remember spirograph back in the day, and it creates this very complex shape. And but I had you could have a single pendulum, but I had a double pendulum, so a little V that was just a few inches long, and then a longer one. And so this one would move this way, and the longer one would move this way, and there would be the cycle, the ratio between the small one and the long one creates a Lissajous pattern, which is Lissajous pattern. Sometimes you see like those squiggly lines of two frequencies hitting each other, and you get this Lissajous pattern. You use it for electronics. Anyways, it turns up in nature. It happens with waves coming across each other, and you have ripple effects. Anyways, it's that pattern, and the pattern repeats itself every 2 minutes. So it takes 2 minutes for this thing to create the shape, and then repeats itself again, and it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. It's really kind of hypnotically beautiful. And so if you Google it, just go sand pendulum, and you'll see these extraordinary things. But if you watch them, theirs lasts for about 30 seconds to a minute. And
Right.
mine, the one you saw lasts 15 minutes, but the one we were going to do, which was going to be in a large theater, was going to last an hour long. So I figured out a way of making it last 60 times longer than everybody else. So
Yeah.
And the way I do it is because the sand creates this pattern, and after a while, the whole thing is covered in sand. It does a layer on top, another layer, and if you have sand layer on top, you can't really see much. And so I first did that in my basement, and I thought, oh, that's cool. And they kept on going, and I was watching, but you could barely see the pattern anymore. And then I just I went out of my basement, and I opened the door and shut the light off. But I had a little floor light, and it shed a shine of light. The
Right.
floor light has shine light, and I could see the pattern. I realized, oh my God, there's this really complex pattern that you can only see in relief. So now I have some theater lights. I put them on the ground, and I realized I could see a very, very complex shape over the years forever. As long as the sand was laying on it, and I had a side light on it, I could see this thing going forever. And then I got obsessed with it, and I would just watch it for I sit in my basement going, this has got to be something. And I watched it for like 20 minutes, and I thought, this is cool. And I videotaped it, showed some friends, and they said, I just kind of watched that. And I went, okay. And then I have two friends who are opera singers, who are theater actors and opera singers.
Right.
Why don't you create this whole thing? So our original thing was going to be, I was going to put the sand pendulum at the Idea Exchange in Cambridge. We have a 25-foot high auditorium, so it would be an hour long. I built this. I went to a blacksmith shop with the two smiths and worked with them building this large pendulum that was holds like 30 pounds worth of sand. And
Right.
And that one was going to be like, we were going to do an hour long, but it would eventually, that same vessel would last about 4 hours.
I will say that in the midst of your now, how long was the one that we watched? 15 minutes?
Just 15 minutes. Just 15
Yeah.
minutes, because it was a 8 feet in my living room. So
I will say at one point I watched it with my mom and my wife,
right.
and at one point we actually muted your video,
Right.
and we played some piano music in the background as well. And
Yeah.
I tell you, just lovely. Like
Yeah.
like you said, kind of hypnotic to watch. And now is yours on? Can people go and watch it at this point?
Yeah, it's online at the Idea Exchange. If you go,
Okay.
my name, Gary Kirkham, Sand Pendulum, at the Idea Exchange, they have something. And I'll send you a link, and then you can.
I'd like to share it, because I'd like people
Yeah.
to see kind of what it is, and then
Yeah.
and they can even
Yeah.
put their own music that they enjoy behind it, and it's pretty great.
And
so
then the two singers were improvising, actually, so they improvised, singing and improvising, that whole thing. And which is my background. I came from improvisation as theater, but I create with the Empty Space theater company I work with. We do creation from improvisation. I mean, we write the plays, but we create in improvisation.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that's sort of my major skill set is probably an improviser.
Mm-hmm. We've had our first foray into attempting improvisation, and let me tell you, there's nothing easy about it. So people with this skill are You know, it's something completely different than just being a screen actor or being a stage actor.
Right.
You know, being able to improvise as well is a whole nother tool in your tool chest.
Right.
So
And
now again,
for me,
yeah.
I'll tell you, for me, it's the easiest thing in the world. You
Mm,
say, I want you to improvise a movie, for example. Hire me a movie. We're gonna, you're gonna come and we're gonna improvise a movie. Like I said, sure. We'll have like 2 weeks of working and we'll improvise a movie. I go, yeah, sure. That would be like way easier. I would know that it would work. But I was built that way. Like I could improvise from a very young age, and it was like simply when I first did my first improv gig. I took a class, and then they said, "Oh, we're going to do a paid gig like this." And so, this is like 30 years ago, whatever. And so they paid us like $150 for like half an hour's worth of work, and it was literally the most I'd ever made for an hour. Like $150 for. I was like, I was paying to do this at a class 2 weeks ago, and you're paying me $150. And I go, I cannot believe you're paying me $150. I'm going in front of the audience. They're cheering, they're laughing, and the people are holding the guts. And somebody said, I haven't laughed this hard in 20 years. And I go, I'm fucking meet this person today, and you're paying me $150. Like, it doesn't get better than that,
Now, as an artist, you took that $150. Now, did you eat or did you?
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, I was gonna say you poured it back into your art, but that's fine too.
I did pour it. I would always pour it back in my art. That was all I did. Seriously, I don't do anything. I don't. I just everything is about my art. Seriously, it is. Like
you definitely get that impression for sure.
Yeah,
So jump me back a little bit again, and
right.
kind of how did you know? So you're 18. You're getting involved with this group. Kind of when did you know you were going to start to try to create more and more and apply these things? And what were some of the next things that you kind of got into?
I did this organization for about 1.5 years, and then I went back to Hamilton, got a kind of a day job of sort. I hadn't figured out what I was going to do, so I thought, I started working at a video store, like every other filmmaker artist kind of.
Oh my god!
Yeah. And so and that was it. And this is really early days of. We were like the third video store in Hamilton. And so nobody, like I would go to a party and I bring because I couldn't afford a video machine because they were like $650 back then.
Yeah,
$1,000 back then. And back then, like you buy a car for $4,000, and this is like so it was like equivalent of $5,000 for it.
Yeah.
So I said, I remember, and so I bring this stuff, and then I put the video. We all I took it up to their television, and we'd have a party, and we'd watch a movie. And it was like, wow, this is like the most exciting party ever. We get to watch a movie, and then I just started like going crazy about movies. And then, anyways, in the middle of that, there was Mohawk College had a course called Theater Production and Performance. And because of who I am, I went production. Yeah, I think I want to do like production stuff, like lighting and stuff. Because I thought, I want to do the tech side because I'm kind of geeky. And then I got there and I found out there's performance. I go, oh, shit, I'm not really a performer. I mean, I did this one thing for performing, but that was like movement without talking. And it wasn't talking. It was all, we were doing this kind of physical theater stuff. And I go, I can move. I can do mine, but I can't talk. Yeah, me. So anyways, how little did I not know myself? Anyways, and so the first thing was improv, and there's this class about improv, and teacher sat down and said, "Let's do some improv." And he said, This is really weird. They said the first thing was like gibberish. Let's do gibberish. I've seen the gibberish, and you make up a language. And so I was like, okay, sounds good. So I was coming up there, and I was going. Scaparato nella casuare, si vede quando è scaparato and the squarat. You saw in the world, right? Combarato? No? Svero? Yeah? Well? Yeah, whatever. So I did this thing. And it was just like the easiest thing I'd ever done in my life. And then people said, the teacher said, no, Gary, you need this like gibberish, not a real language. I go, no, that was like, no idea.
That wasn't a real language. Thank you.
That wasn't like language. And he said, wow.
And then he was like, A+.
A+. Yeah, plus.
Thank you. Thank you for your money. You're paying me, by the way.
So as I drive home, to backstory, but I just become a mission. I still a missionary. I was still like this Christian, but I was trying to figure out my Christianity. And our sect of Christianity, like we were charismatic. We speak in tongues, like So in our group, we would all like everybody would go, and they would just like, like this. And I go, you know, that was my tongue. And they go, like everybody else is doing this, and I was doing like whatever it was.
Listen, they're not supposed to be looking over at you. I believe that they're supposed to be full of the Holy Spirit.
They said they would go, I was listening to the Holy Spirit in you, Gary, and it seems like it was Italian.
Yeah, it seems European. I don't.
Yeah. So the Holy Spirit was probably having a pray about Italy. We should look in, like they. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
That's
anyways,
wonderful.
and so so I'm going drive home, and I go, like probably that. I probably said, fuck, that was the speaking in tongues. It was the same part of the brain that I've been speaking in tongues with. I was improvising with.
Wow.
And I went, oh wow! Like it was like I was driving home, and the whole time I was thinking I was speaking tongues. I was just speaking gibberish. But so what happens is, like, I'll go back to the speaking tongues thing. So to speak in tongues, the idea is you quiet yourself, and there's this voice inside you that's never spoken, and you just let it come out of you. So you're not thinking, you're not doing it. You just, and people go, you know, and you kind of get in this trance thing and speak in tongues. And so I go to the theater class, and they go, okay, now just quiet yourself, don't think a thing, and just move. Like they were just asking you to move without thinking. And I'm going, I've been doing that for the last 10 years, speaking tongues. I've been trying to get out of the way and having this experience. Yeah. Anyway, so I kind of realized that I've been, without knowing it, I've been working.
You've been preparing yourself for
to be improvisation, to not think, to just kind of come out of it and not judge it, and so it was sort of this. I started running, like I came to class and I was already running, and then I realized it was literally, I couldn't believe that people found this thing hard. Like literally come, you just say whatever you think. You listen to what they say, you say. Yeah. I mean, in real life, we're having a conversation now. It's not hard to have a conversation now. We're now on the moon, and you're a Veltor. That's just as easy. And I wouldn't question that any more than I question myself now. Like that. So it's that same level of, I believe I'm Gary. I believe you're Jay. So it's like,
you're not.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. All right, I have to go with it. So that came, and it just sort of took off from there. And then when I started doing theater, we did creation, like creating new work. A lot of it would come out of improvisation. So you come in the rehearsal hall, and then you found an actor who can improvise, would be really good. Even if you have a script, you still kind of have to improvise. You have to go, try this. And a lot of actors would have the script and then just do the same thing every time. And the good actors would go, okay, try this. And you go, can you do it this way? And you give a whole different thing. Like good actors, you give them a note and they do this. You give them a note, they do this. And you can then, they give you 10 different things.
I think one thing too that, in my very limited experience is that a really great actor, not only can they play in the space that you've given them, but then also when you lock into what you're happy with, they can repeat that every single time, right? So, and that's sometimes key. I think working in the films, if a person can not only repeat the lines that they just know them, they are that person, but then they can also have the wherewithal, the ability to actually repeat actions every time exactly the same way. The slight arm movements, this helps with the edit, like just so much, right? How now did the one thing that pops up for me frequently is you wrote a play called Falling, right?
Falling Awake, yeah.
Falling Awake. Would you say that that's one of the more famous plays that you've been involved with?
Yeah, that's probably my this is the play that's probably done the most, I guess, or that the most professionally. Queen Millie of Galt, my first play, has been done a lot, but it's a lot of amateur companies. But Falling Awake has been done, like it's been done around the world. I mean, it's across America, Canada. It was translated into Italian and done in Rome. It was done in Belgium, French. It's just been translated into Arabic right now.
Wow.
So
What is that experience like? You feel now? Did you play it as well?
No, I was always
You
I
just
wrote and
wrote
directed, just wrote and directed.
wrote and directed, and then at what point? What does it feel like when your work gets taken in a different, like, by a different group of people
Right.
in a different place? What does that feel like? What's that like?
Most of the time, pretty fabulous,
Good.
really fabulous.
Amazing.
Every so often, soul destroying. Like they go, what the?
And
What?
Miss McGillicuddy's 5th grade class.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. This is like professional actors, like just taking on a whole different, like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What have you done to this? Really quite far away from it. Most of the time.
Just tell us what it's about, just quickly.
Okay. So Falling Wake is based on a true story, or inspired by a true story. A personal story. The Lockerbie crash. There was the Lockerbie bombing in Scotland, which is in 1988, I think it was, and that was one of the big. It was Air India was the largest. This was the second largest bombing of all time. 270 people were killed over Lockerbie, Scotland, and the Canadian on board was my childhood best friend, he was coming home actually. He was flying. He was an actor working in London, and we hung out in London together, England. And then he was coming back here to Canada. It was Christmas time with his fiancée, which was actually at the time his girlfriend, and they were announcing they were coming home to introduce us to his fiancée. And they both died in the plane crash over Lockerbie, Scotland. And the plane blew up midair, and then debris fell everywhere. And his body landed like several miles away from Lockerbie in a field in the middle of nowhere. And so that kind of, I was, I guess, 26, I guess, when it happened. So, and like I grew up with this kid. I known him since he was 12 years old. Literally, like the three of him, my other friend Alan, and myself were 3 best friends. Kind of did everything together, and became. We're Christians together, went to Jesus camp together, kind of stuff, and then both became actors together. One became a writer, and the other 2 of us became actors. And same, we were on the same journey as far as like, this is our life now. Yeah. And he'd been in Superman 4, I think it was his first big deal. Oh, this is a great, I'll tell you the story. So this is actually, it's not in the play, but it kind of is in the play. So Paul. Got a gig in Superman 4 or something like that. I can't, whatever the one it was, I can't remember.
Amazing.
And so he got this movie. It was his first real movie, and it came to Hamilton. So I got this phone call from Alan. It said, "Hey, Paul's in, and we're going to see bunch of us going to see the thing together, his movie, and we're going to surprise him. We're going to phone him in England and say surprise." And there's like, maybe 5 or 6 of us or 7 of us are going to come and see it. So we get to the apartment. There's like 30 people there, like there's this huge party of all of us. And we're in this small apartment, and we're all meeting there. We're going to have this little chair, and we're going to phone. So we're phoning up, and it's like, we're going to see the 7:30 show, whatever it is. So it's like 6:30, and we're phoning up. And then his phone rings, and somebody says, "By the way, what time is it in England?" He goes, "Oh, well, I don't know, about 1 o'clock." Hello. It's like 1 a.m. It's awesome. He goes, "Oh, hello, yes, hello, it's Paul there." "Oh, no, yeah, right, sorry, no, sorry, well," and then they told, "Well, no, it's a bunch of us friends. We're in Canada, and we're all watching Superman 4. Yeah, and we were going to surprise him." "Oh, he's not. Okay. Do you know where he could be?" "Okay, yeah, okay, I'll take that note. Okay. Do you think it's all right?" "Yeah, okay. Okay." So, and we woke up, like, when we called like 3 or 4 times, waking up all of Paul's friends in around England, trying to get a hold of this guy to try and surprise him. And of course, none of them, like,
those Canadians are assholes.
Yeah, we're assholes. We're just waking up people, but everybody else tells us like they're groggy, and they go, "Oh, what a sweet thing to do! Oh, that was sweet. Too bad he doesn't know about this. He would have loved that. He would have loved that. All right, I'll give you another.
I'll chat with you in an hour."
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So anyways, so we call all these people, and couldn't get a hold of them. And then Paul used to be a magician, so he did magic tricks, and that was his thing. Like as a kid, actually 15, 16, he like ran away and joined the circus, and joined this magic company, and was touring around with his magic company. Like he just did this stuff. He was just his mom was widowed, and he kind of grew up really fast. So anyways, so he did this magician friend. One of his magician friends came and said, "Oh, okay." He said, "Oh, I was going to do a magic trick on Paul's behalf. It was supposed to be a phone trick, but oh crap. Okay, but I'll do it for you guys." He said, "Okay." So Paul's friend goes, "Okay, I just want you to check my sleeves." And he checked my sleeves, check my jacket. Is there anything? Okay. And he stood at the doorway. He said, "Okay, I want everybody to count to 3. I'm going to come out." Okay. So he closes the door. We go 1, 2, 3. Opens the door, and it's our friend Paul. And Paul goes, "Surprise!"
This is amazing.
And we're going. And it was just like, there was just like, I've never had this moment where it was like, and it was just like dead silence. Like he was surprised, and it was just dead silence. It wasn't like a cheer. It was just,
wow, this is great. This is great.
And it was like, and then a girl screamed. Another girl started bawling, and then we just like started like applauding and just like gave him a standing ovation, applauded, and then went crazy.
And then now he came with you to see the movie, and he was like, "That's me right there."
So then we go to the theater, and like we all went, and we're really excited, and there's like 5 people in front of us. That's it. This movie. You haven't seen Superman 4 for that reason. Nobody saw Superman 4. So
I think
we're there.
Yeah.
And then we're there, and we're having the time of our lives, and just cheering the whole movie. It's like the best movie of all time. We're cheering the beginning like this, and then finally Paul comes up, and he plays this submarine guy pressing buttons, launching code, and he goes, so it's a little small, like he has 3 lines, right. And he's like this, go crazy for it, and then the people in front going, "Do you know him?" "Oh, it's him, it's him."
Would you guys like an autograph?
Yeah.
And so how did that make it into the play?
So that's the kind of magic that Paul was. Like he would do this. Like if Paul was going to do magic, that was what it was. And so the play is the body of a young man lands in their field, and it's my friend Paul, basically his friend Paul, who's dead. And we have this older couple that come and they find his body in their field, and they live in the middle of nowhere, and they decide to stay with him. And by the end of the play, the wife just thinks he might be here, soul or spirit might be here, so she talks to him just in case he's still here. And by the end of the play, they've kind of fallen in love with this young man who they think he is. And then they take out his wallet. They want to know his name, and she pulls the wallet, and my friend's name is Paul Matthew Freeman, the Matthew, and she opens up, and it's Matthew, and their son's name is Matthew, who disappeared when he was 10 years old, and he would be about the same age as this boy. And it's sort of this closure for them.
You're right.
And so it was sort of like this magic moment. And I thought, Paul, the other story about Paul was he had to go to come to Canada the year before that plane crash. He had to come to Canada, and he had no money. And he wanted to come home for Christmas because he was desperately lonely. And so his flatmate said, "I'm going to give you my credit card. Why don't you go? Give you a credit card. Go and buy yourself a ticket, and then just get all your friends to give you money for gifts." So Paul goes to the lineup, and he's now in this lineup to get a ticket like a week before Christmas. And in the front of the line, there's this other woman in the front of the line, and she's there with her son, and she's lining up to get a ticket, and he's just chatting with her. And he goes, "What are you here?" She says, "Oh, I'm here to get a ticket for my son to go to visit his in-laws, and my husband's best friend's going to take him, so I need to go to both of them." So she's sitting there, and by the end of the line, she goes, "You know what? I'd rather you to take my son than my husband's best friend. Can I buy you a ticket? Would that be all right?"
Wow.
And she was like, "Yeah, okay." And I go, he was the kind of person in 4 minutes could convince a woman to give them her son. Wow. Yeah. And you went, "Yeah, this is Paul." He just kind of walked around. Weird shit like happened to that all the time. And so I thought, that kind of, I thought, well, what happened if he was dead? He would still have this connection
Impact.
to people,
Yeah.
and connect to people. So I kind of believe that Paul would do that. So the play was really about what would happen, a fantasy of what would happen to him even after he was dead, if somebody spent the time to get to know him. And so that's why.
And so now your play goes all over the world and gets done by other groups. Now, as the playwright, do you get the opportunity to go? Do you take it upon yourself? Are they like, we're gonna pay for you to come over to Florence, and we're gonna do it? You're gonna get a box with, I guess, all the grapes and whatnot. Like, how does this work?
Yes and no. Yeah, some of the places they like, come to us. We'll pay for you to come. And other ones is theater. They have no money. And but Canada Council grant actually gives me a grant to see my plays, so I can get a grant. So I've got a grant to go and see my plays. And if I do go there, they roll out the red carpet. They put me up in houses. They feed me. They take me drinking. And so that when it was in New York, I did that. I saw that and got to see that. And I've seen a bunch of the productions and a couple of the others I wish I'd gotten to see, but I thought I was doing another show at the time, and it's like, but it's quite extraordinary to have your work done as a playwright, because with other writing like a film, if they screw it up, like that's it. But with a play, well, somebody else will do it. They'll get it. Like there's always somebody else out there. And for the most part, theater, they mostly get it right because it's almost always really, really good. Because you have a director and you have smart, which are usually pretty directors. The director, she's going to be really smart, and the actor's going to be really smart. And between all of them, they figure out. And every so often, you get somebody who thinks they know a lot better. And the only time I've had bad experiences is the director said, she was an undirectable actor. She knew what she had something she wanted to say, and it wasn't what the director wanted to say. It wasn't what I wanted to say. But she used the words. As those situations happen, you go.
Now, let me just ask, because people might find it interesting. Just, I suppose, the business side. Do you do it yourself? Do you have an agent that reaches out to theater companies and tries to be like, "Are you looking for the next thing? This is what I have. This is blah blah blah." Is that how?
Yes, and both. I have an agent, but I also do my own stuff. So, nobody's going to do it like you do yourself. So I'm always pitching, talking directors, hey, have you seen this new work, or do you want to do my new play, or something like that? So you're always kind of giving that, and every so often you bug people, and then you bug people, and they go, no, actually, we know your work, and it's been on our list for a while yet. And then all of a sudden you get this phone call that somebody you talked to like 5 years beforehand go, yeah, we're going to do it. I go, oh, good. I'm like, who the hell are you? Oh, yeah. We went for drinks, didn't we? Okay, I went to drinks with you at some festival 5 years ago. And so you've been spending, and that's kind of like theater, right? You might have a play you want to do, but you have like dozens of plays you want to do. So you go, okay, and then you want to make sure, okay, I want this play because I have these two actors I want to work with. This is basically a two-hander. It's a three-hander because there's the two actors and the young boy who's dead, who's also played by an actor. It's not a stuffed dummy, because even though he doesn't move, I love the conceit of theater. The real body there, and she's talking to them. People go, oh, he's going to talk, because they saw there's three actors in the program. The young boy has a bio, so you go,
surprise.
Oh, yeah. Nope. And at some point, as Elsie is talking to the boy, I think the audience goes, it becomes really rich to imagine the idea of who he is. You go, if he talks, it's not going to be as good. I'm liking this. I like him. And in one sense, I really want to get the audience to think that I'm going to eventually have him speak, and not wanting to speak, I hope he's dead. I hope he stays dead, which is the underlying theme of the play. So I really wanted to have that as the meta thing. And so I did a lot of things that would make that she does ask him questions and waits for an answer. Like those kinds of things to tease that up, to set it up that, okay, because people know how that plays work. They'll, oh, she thought about answering. He's going to eventually talk.
Right.
And so I did give some sort of ideas that might happen, and try to get the audience to think that was going to happen. And then wanted them to not think it. And that was kind of based on Eugene Ionesco's play, The Lesson, if you're familiar with that. It's a two-hander with this woman who goes to this professor, and he's going to teach her all knowledge. And so it's this absurdist play, but he's going to teach her all knowledge, and it's really, really funny. It goes back and forth. They have one repertoire, and the teacher speaks a mile an hour, and just it's very funny. And then all of a sudden, the student has a toothache, and so all of a sudden, the banter goes back. And she goes, "I have a toothache," and he goes, "Toothache," and she starts whining about toothache, and the play for the next 5 minutes dies, and you're like, "This play is okay." And you're going. And the laughter stops, and the audience goes,
"What is happening?"
And all of a sudden, he gets frustrated, and he kills her. He goes, "Good, okay, good, okay, something's happening." And he falls over dead. And the nurse comes in. "Oh dear, not another one." And you go, "Oh, this is good now. This is good." And then she puts she goes, "Oh, this will make you feel better." And then she puts a swastika, a little like a sticker armband, and he, "Does that make you feel better?" And so what I felt like for me, I went, that happened not because like, oh, it's swastika, but I desperately wanted her to be dead. Like she was wrecking my play. And so her killing her was like good. She was wrecking my comfort of, I was enjoying the play and this fucking actor wrecked my comfort. And so I really loved the meta-ness of that thing. And I went, I really want to do that some way. I wanted to get the audience to go, get slightly out of it, because we always do. And I wanted to use their slipping out of it to want him to be dead. And when he is dead, there's part of the brain going. And that the metaphor is they're finally at the end of the very end of the play, Elsie, when she realizes this boy is dead, she kind of comes to grip that their son is never coming back home. He disappeared at 10. He is dead. And so this is, she's her finally realizing that there's because they're stuck on this farm waiting for their son to come back. And they're not going to wait anymore. He's dead. So it was kind of all my friend's death.
Well, I like it because it sounds lovely, and also like you said, you've got your audience almost kind of, they're engaged, but even for any given moment, they're also thinking.
Yeah.
And
it's a comedy.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah, doesn't sound like it. No, but
no. Let me tell you something. It doesn't sound funny at all.
It doesn't sound funny at all. No, it's not. But throughout, I mean, there's like, it starts off funny, and then there's like this horrible thing, and then it gets funny again. Because what she says, she's a very funny character, and so she talks to the boy, and what she says is funny. She's got a lot of funny stories, and so it's not a comedy, but it's a darker comedy with a lot of humor in it. I mean, it starts off, you're laughing for the first 2 minutes of the play, which is when I did research, I found out that the explosion happened. It took 2.5 minutes for the debris to fall. So the play starts off with explosion, and the husband comes out, and he's going, and then they come out, and they're looking at it because there's this part of the fuselage was slowly burning and falling, and they're looking at this thing and wondering what could be falling that slow, because it's not a shooting star or an asteroid or a meteorite. And so she thinks that. He goes, no, it's moving. So it's probably a weather balloon. They're always up, something like that, or satellite. Could be a satellite. So he's trying to think what it is, and then eventually, and they banter back and forth, and actually the whole play starts with a dog barking because of the sound of the explosion, and the husband comes out and goes, and you hear, and he goes, and the Harold comes out and starts barking at the ruff ruff, and they bark back and forth. Like he goes ruff ruff, and the dog goes ruff ruff, and he's like, because he's a person who barks at his dog and gets their dog to bark back, and it's just this funny, small, tiny moment. But I wanted the audience to chuckle, and then they say a couple things and laugh. But I really, really wanted to do is him talking to the dog, because when the boy comes in, he never talks to him, and so I wanted to set it up beforehand. He's the kind of guy who would bark at a dog for fun, but could not engage this boy at that level. So it was not like he wasn't the shit. He was this funny guy and silly guy, but he couldn't go there. And the audience doesn't think that, but they know who you introduce a character, which comes to my writing. You introduce a character, and you want to introduce the character and tell something really poignant about him without letting us know. So I think the most poignant thing you can go, this guy is a funny guy. He's not too self-conscious. He can do silly things, and when he does it, and I'm not going to change that. When this boy laughs, all of that's going to stop.
It's like a pretty common script concept as well, to make the first line that a character says tell the audience something about who they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
In some way. So,
Yeah.
as you're introducing each character, you get like a little sense of who that
Yeah.
that man or woman is or whatever.
Yeah.
Now, so you've now I also noticed that you have you play a priest in
Yes,
a
I do. In transference.
transference. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that. But what I'd love to hear is,
Right.
do you have a favorite medium, or how do you plan your artistic life?
Right. Right.
It seems like you're like, I'm getting really interested in this, and I'm gonna dive into this particular thing. And then do you try to sprinkle the writing in, and the and the one other thing that I'm really interested to hear about, and maybe you can kind of sprinkle it in, is you have been an artist in residence.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people, number one, don't really know what that is.
Okay.
And for some people, they hear it, but it's so out of the realm of what they think is possible.
Okay.
Talk a little bit about how someone becomes one and what it's like.
Okay.
And maybe just maybe focus on your piece, but
Yeah.
you do hear about it from time to time, and I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's different kinds of residencies, but I'll talk about the kinds of residencies
Well,
that I've done.
the one interesting thing I think it was, I want to say 4 or 5 months ago, I was reading a poem, and it really it eludes me now because my memory is pretty shit. But what I loved about it was I read this poem, and then it was like, this person was awarded like Canada's poet laureate or poet in residence, and they get XYZ for being Canada's poet this year. Congratulations, you're the man, Carl, or whatever, And so, like, when people hear about this stuff, you're like, wow, like, this is a crazy honor. Like, what happens with this, and what is it like? So maybe you can tell us a little bit about what it's like from your perspective.
Yeah, I've done a couple of residencies, 3 of them, and I think I'm going to say 3 for now. I'll probably come up another one. So I did one at the Blythe Festival, which is a theater festival in Blythe, Ontario, and that was I think with the Playwrights Guild and the probably Canada Council and the Ontario Council, and I got a month of being at the festival. They paid me what would be equivalent of a salary, and then I have a use of a space there. I get to interact with the actors. I get to play with actors. I have a director who can play with, and I just hang out. And so they basically find an artist and they go, okay, you've got a month. We're paying you, and do stuff. I said, do something. And so you just do something. And so I was there and I just started hanging around. And then the artistic director said, yeah, we've got some interesting people you want to talk to. What do you think I'm doing? I go, I don't know yet. I'm thinking like this. And they said, well, there's this couple and they're archivists. And so they're like amateur archivists. So they have taken the archives of the live town and have created their own. So I go and they live above like Blythe is like a 1-street town with 1 traffic light, and they have a little storefront, and they're living in an apartment above a storefront, tiny little 2-bedroom apartment. And I go in the living room, and the living room is stacked with binders, thousands and thousands of binders, and it's all archived, like deaths, births, anything, all this information about Blythe. And she goes, so what do you want to know about Blythe? I go, wow. So tell me about interesting people. And they go, well. And they told me a bunch of them. They go, oh, and then Pearl. Yes, Pearl Gidley. I go, Pearl Gidley. I said, I like her already. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you hear that? And you go, it can, okay, if it can only, it's already good. So she can only disappoint me at this point. And so Pearl, the story I heard at the time was Pearl Gidley was this concert pianist that lived in Blythe, and then she had sort of this breakdown, and she had this piano in the house, and she did like she was engaged when she was 20 years old, and she was supposed to marry this very famous composer in Toronto, and she was this like concert pianist, and he had written the music for their wedding, the procession. She was going to go at the church, play the procession rather than walk her down, and then everyone was going to come and she was going to play and then get up. And so she got a telegram the morning of from him, said, sorry, can't go through with it, heading west. And then she just ran off like in her wedding dress. They couldn't, like, just ran out. And then they started looking for her. They went to the river, wondered if she's trying to drown herself. They finally found her in the church playing the music and sobbing. And then she never played again. Played it again until 40 years later, in the 60s, late 60s, all of a sudden she had a rooming house with her sister, and she was starting to play again with these hippies. And I went, wow, what was the story?
That's crazy.
That's crazy. And I go, so this is the story.
You can only do that sort of deep dive in Blythe.
Yeah, right.
You can't do that in Toronto, or it's impossible.
It's possible. And so that's the story. And then it's really interesting happened. I said, I like the story. I just don't like hippies. You know, like, I mean, I like hippies. Like, I'm probably a hippie, but I don't love the stereotype. And then it says, well, there's another guy you can talk to. And I go, okay, he wants to talk to you. And it was this Mennonite guy, and he was a deserter from the U.S. Army. And he was a conscientious objector. And he, I don't know if you're familiar with the guy that embalmed himself, like burned himself in front of the steps in Washington, in front of Frank McNamara's office, who was the Vietnam War guy, was a Mennonite. And so he was thinking, do I embalm myself? Do I burn myself as a protest? And he was so like damaged about this, and came to Canada and became a farmer. And I go, fuck, it's the guy that she's going to meet is a deserter. And at that time, this was just about 10 years ago, we were hearing about the Iraq War, and there were deserters from the U.S. Army into Canada.
Mm-hmm. I met one.
And they were trying to send them back, right? Yeah. And there was.
Well, he was hiding.
Okay. Okay.
He was a bartender working under the table at a bar in Toronto.
Very cool. Yeah. Very cool. But there was three or four others in Canada that Harper was trying to kick out of Canada. And as I did research, I went back in the 60s. There was a bunch. I said we had like a couple of thousand. So I did research. 200,000. 200,000.
That's a big portion of our population here.
That is a huge population. And Canada just went, sure. This is Trudeau. Trudeau said the status of an American, the military status of American coming across into Canada is none of our business. And so all of a sudden they just came in. And they were the draft dodgers could come in. The deserters was a different thing. You had to kind of sneak in. Deserters couldn't come across the border because that we did have a rule about deserters in Canada, but it was still not. We weren't sending them back, but we couldn't.
And now, what did you took this and you?
I turned this into a play about this deserter who comes to stay with the women, and he is the reason that she hasn't played for
plays again,
and she plays again.
That's lovely.
And so that's the play is her healing, him healing, because this is one of my favorite writing stories. So my director was Miles Potter, who's Stratford Festival. He's probably one of Canada's top directors. So a lot of people have Miles Potter as their like one of my writer friends said, Miles Potter is probably my favorite director. Like,
amazing
director. Love him to pieces. Great guy. And so we're working together, and he's like my dramaturg. Like sometimes you have a dramaturg is sort of like an editor for a book, a dramaturg is for a play. And sometimes they have dramaturgs, so it's just like you have a dramaturg, you have a director and writer. And Miles likes being a dramaturg. And that's my default. If I'm kind of a dramaturg who's going to work with me sculpting the play, I'd rather be a director rather than a dramaturg who's literary. I'd rather be a director who knows actors. He's going to be actors. Right. Anyways, so my first.
He's not only thinking about the script, but he's also thinking about how he's going to pull it off and
on stage,
or what small changes you would make to make it easier, or
what actors can do, what they can't do. Yeah. So this is one of my meetings with him, and we met in Stratford because that's our meeting ground for both of us. His wife works at Stratford. So anyways, we're he's at a booth. I come in, I'm sitting down. He says, "Just a minute, Gary," and he was like, and he's writing. He's on his computer. And, fuck. Sorry. that was just a letter to a letter to another writer. I just he said, it was brutal. I just hate that. And it's like, I just hate that. I go, oh Jesus, Miles, you cannot fucking do that with me, man. You cannot do that. Just send it to me. I'm a big boy. I don't question it. Don't worry about it. Just say whatever the hell you want. I do not care. I am not care. I don't care all, but you cannot possibly hurt me. I'm really scared of an audience who's just spent $100 for a couple pairs of tickets and driven in here. They've spent the day off. They got the babysitter. They've done this. They've been looking forward to this. I do not want to piss them off. Mm-hmm. And there's hundreds of them who are going to sit there going, really? They're the ones I'm scared of.
Well, here's the thing. You know what? You want to put forth the best thing. Mm. You want to make people happy. This is the point. Maybe you want to make them sad, but if you want to make them sad, it's only because you kind of want to make them happy, right? Yeah. You want them to be engaged in your thing. Adrian and I were talking to a good friend of ours a couple days ago, and he read our first draft of a new script that we're working on. And he was like, okay, don't take offense. We're like, don't worry, hit us. Yeah. He was like, I don't love any of your characters enough to care if they die. And we're like, oh, okay. There's work to be done. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah. Oh, this is so heartbreaking, but it's okay. Yeah. We're back at it, Yeah. But
thank God for him, because if he said, it's pretty good, you have an audience going,
oh yeah, 100%.
That sound of an audience not giving a shit.
Yeah,
is horrible.
Yeah, no, you need.
I've heard groans with
people you trust. Yeah, you need people you trust, and you need people that will tell you.
Oh,
but then eventually, then once you're happy and you've done your best, then just go for it. You don't have to, write it so many times that you never make the thing. But
so how long from the time he told you it sucks till you go, yeah. It does. How long did that
No, I still like it, but I'm gonna fix it. Yeah. No. And here's the thing. This was basically draft 1, so it's got a lot of work to go, anyways. But
did that encourage you to write better? Like all of a sudden you go,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Doesn't
it? It's interesting because my son also read it, and his comment wasn't the same. His comment was, I wish that some of the characters interacted more with each other so that you could get a better understanding of the relationships between more of the individual pairs of characters. And I was like, interesting. And again, when if I read the script, I'm happy. Right. But hearing other people's thoughts, I'm like, okay, I see what you're saying, and I don't disagree, and it's time to make it better, right? And to work through it. So you know what? Script writing, playwriting. I mean, playwriting is fascinating to me. Yeah. Adrian wrote and directed Bickerman's Grove, which was our second feature, and he wrote that like a play.
Right.
And when we filmed it kind of like a play, even though it was it was at like a crossroads. There was 2 houses, and we were inside the houses. We weren't on a stage, but it's filmed very much like a stage. Like there's a scene where, one guy is, there's some people that are hiding behind a bush, and one guy's crossing, and then as soon as he gets to a certain point, the people that are hiding behind the bush kind of run across the street, and then as everybody leaves, these 2 characters come from each house, and they link hands and they walk out into the sunset sort of thing. So it's got that feel like it's been choreographed properly.
I mean, sort of like Knives Out. Knives Out had a very looked like a play. Like it,
I loved Knives Out. I thought it was great. Yeah.
And it had that theatricality that you go, it's so much based on people in the room saying stuff,
Mm-hmm.
And if it's well done, it's fabulous,
I loved it a lot. I haven't seen it a second time yet. The one other thing I thought was really nice was it was very colorful.
Yeah.
Like the colors were very vibrant for a movie that didn't really need it.
Yeah.
I saw it in the theater and I really enjoyed it. That's pretty great.
Yeah.
So now let me just pull you back and ask you, of the art forms, do you have something that is kind of like your fave? I know you do call yourself an installation artist, which I think is pretty great. But like, what if you could just focus on one thing, would you, or do you
Yeah.
not like to do that?
I don't like to do that, so I don't have to do that, and so I don't like to. Yeah, I kind of like doing a bunch of things as an artist. It keeps informing me through different formats. Script writing is the thing I do the best, and that includes like, and I would do more screenwriting if I could, but I get the gigs from theater, and I have scripts that I'm trying to sell to film stuff. I've done the pitching. I've been optioned the whole 9 yards, and you go yeah. Like I did like when Miramax. I got Miramax. I was on the weekend read at Miramax for one of my scripts. So I got this producer called me up and said, "You're on the weekend read," and they gave me a phone number of a LA lawyer, and I called him up and I said, "What do I need an agent, like an LA agent?" He said, "You're on the weekend read of if you're on the weekend read of Miramax, you just need a lawyer." I went, okay, because an agent's going to take money. You're already in the you're not on the door.
Why? Why
you're not in the door. You're not in the door. You're in the fucking room. I went, okay. He said, and that was like nice. And so I did the Danish Joy. Okay, so I was like already figuring about my third feature at that point. And then that just sort of like fizzled away, and then it's I've been optioned a bunch of times. To my script's been optioned, and you go, okay, yeah. And I mean, this is all feature films, LA stuff, and I thought, okay, and then I have one of my friends who's a filmmaker. He's done some stuff at he was featured at TIFF and stuff like that. And so I thought, okay, I have a script. Pearl Gidley, I said, that's yours. You want to do it? I like you a lot as a director, and it's going to be a small independent. It's going to be $1 million feature. I'm not going to. Yeah, let's get it done. And so that's my new thing. It's like I just want to get something in that feature film world. And I still work on scripts. I'm working on like screenplays. I'm still working on television series. But I don't. I'm not holding my breath for any of that. And I get the meetings done. I do get that happen, and I go, okay, nothing, okay. It's like,
it's kind of a sad feeling when you get optioned and then you get your property back. You're like, I wish it would have done something. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. That 10-page that 10-page contract, you're going, like. They're talking about T-shirts and all that kind of shit, and all that. I said, what, T-shirts and memorabilia? Okay, sure. I don't think this movie's gonna have. I don't think anybody's gonna have a T-shirt about Pearl Gidley, but okay.
Hey, you never know.
You never know. But it's a standard shit, lad. But
you need a T-shirt that says like, I made it out of the States.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. But theater keeps on playing, and I do a lot of work with the Empty Space, which is another local company in Kitchener, and that's done we do a collaborative creation. We come into a rehearsal hall, and we have like 6 actors, director, myself as the writer, and we create together. And I'm just in the room as a writer. I'm in the room. I don't write the play. We all create it together. I'm like, if there's 7 of us in the room, 1/7 of it is mine. A lot of the text is mine, but not a lot. It's still there.
You're like the curator of what's going on.
Yeah, the curator of the text, and that's usually what you said. I said, you said that. I said, this is what I wrote, and sometimes I write something. And I said, you said this rather than that. I like what you said better. Keep on saying it that way. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I said, no. He said, sound better. Because you said that way. And I'm confident in writing it. And the last version of that, I'm the favorite in the room. We had a stage manager who's like monitoring everything, keeping notes. And she was really a fast typer. And I was looking at notes, and she was just writing what people said in rehearsal. I go, do you want to keep on doing that? So then I was doing this, and she was doing that. And we had a Google Doc in front of us. And she was looking at it, and I was there, and I would just like, all of a sudden she would put that, and I put a little highlighter on something and highlight something as it was going by. And I'd go back and tweak it. And so I was actually just watching them, and she was writing it. So she technically, stage manager, wrote the play.
Fair enough.
Wrote what they said and put together, but and when I teach playwriting, I go, I might have written the words, but that's really not the play. The play is the bodies on stage, the actors, and
Totally.
because 90% of it, if you're doing your job well with a really good story, the text can be interchangeable. So much of that can be interchangeable. So you have to have a really good ear for dialogue, and it's going to be funny. But I learned a lot.
Well, you're building the world, though.
Yeah. And building the world is way, way more important than what you freaking say. And what I really found out working with a physical theater company, there's this one of our first piece called Last 15 Seconds. That's the one that's we've traveled around the world with it. It's gone everywhere. And so in that play, it's part of it is in Arabic. And there's this one scene. It's about the Mustafa Akkad, who is he was the director of, he was the creator of the Halloween franchise. The Halloween franchise?
Yeah.
Halloween 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He was the producer for that.
Would you believe I have not seen a single one?
Oh, wow. I've only seen one.
I'm not like a horror guy. Like I've seen a Jason, I've seen a Freddy, but I've just I haven't watched.
Yeah,
that's just not my my thing.
Not mine either. So I watched one because I had to, and I wanted to do a bit of research. And so he did the Halloween franchise, and he happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time in Amman, Jordan, and there were some hotel bombings, and he was killed. And so our play is about his death and him confronting his the murder. And Mustafa Akkad was this devout Muslim. He created this film called Lion in the Desert with Anthony Quinn, which is a freedom fighter, Omar Muqtad, who fought against Mussolini in the desert. He was the guy that kept the Italians and the Nazis stuck in the desert, fighting 1,000 Libyans, 220,000, 30,000 soldiers fighting 1,000 Libyans. They were in the desert. They pop up and duck down.
These are the best. These are the stories that people love.
Oh yeah, exactly,
for sure.
And,
few against many. Yeah.
And so that was it. And he did this one about the Prophet Muhammad that was played in the States, and that was huge in the States in the 70s, and was part of the resurgence of the Black Muslim movement in the States. So Muhammad Ali saw that film, as all these people had seen that film, and the Prophet Muhammad, one of his disciples, was a black slave that he freed. So in the middle of the race riots, they said, Christianity is repressing us, but Islam is freeing us slaves. So that was the big reason why Islam, Nation of Islam, and all that stuff that happened in the States was part of the anti-black, the pro-black movement and the anti-racist movement. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time and died. And so, anyways, in that play, one of the actors is two of the actors were Arabic, and there's this one scene where the woman playing Mustafa Akkad's mother is like, he comes home, and she's so happy to see him, and it's actually after his death. He's coming up. It's kind of it's his coming home after being away from Hollywood, but also his death.
Right.
We had simultaneously happening, and so she's and she's speaking Arabic, and then she has this kind of very angry talk about enough in Arabic. And it's this beautiful moment, and audiences are bawling and crying, and we're crying, and we're watching that. And so we did this. There was this chunk of it in Arabic, and then this play ends. And so we're having this talk back. And this must have been our 50th show. We've been touring around, although we were someplace in the States, or someplace out west, I think. And somebody asked us, so what was that Arabic meaning? And then everybody turned to the actor who was playing. She wasn't on stage yet, and they all looked at me, and they go, she gave me the text in Arabic, and I don't know. Does anybody know what she says? None of us know. Even the actor playing with her, who played Mustafa Akkad. No, I don't think I. Anybody ask her? No, none of us asked her what she said.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you a little secret.
Yeah.
Gibberish.
Yeah, gibberish. None of us.
She's improv. It sounded
beautiful. We all cried. Every time we heard it, we cried. And honestly, I realized I honestly never thought to ask her. I knew what it meant inside. I never thought to ask her. Wow. And I said, well, it's about, she's saying, this is it. This is enough. This needs to stop. And then she came back. What is it? She says, the Arab, wake up, Arabs, wake up, Arabs, wake up. And I go, yeah, that's all. We all heard that. We heard versions of that. And we heard the subtext of what she's saying. This is enough. We need to move on. And I went, wow, the fact that you don't know that you didn't understand it. Like it was
the fact.
Yeah, and I thought really good movies. If you do your job well, you do your setup scene. Nobody needs to know what you're saying. You can shut the sound off with the Hitchcock, the famous Hitchcock thing. You can shut off the sound with Hitchcock, and you don't need it. You're not going to miss a thing. All you're going to miss is the MacGuffin, which just doesn't matter anyways.
Well, let me ask you this. It's something that we love to ask all of our guests. It's a little fun. It's and you as someone who worked in a video store, this speaks to my heart. That was one of my absolute faves, was going and picking out the VHS that you would watch every weekend or whatever. But so we like to ask people, if you had to take 3 movies to the desert island to watch again and again, these are your guilty pleasures, not the best movies.
Okay.
Not your favorite movies, because sometimes your favorite, you can't watch it every day in a week. What are some of your guilty pleasures that you love and you can watch again and again? Let's try to give us 3 of those.
Okay. Lord of the Rings. The 3 of them. I could just watch it like.
This is Zach Parsons. Do you know Zach Parsons?
Yeah, I know Zach. Yeah, I worked with Zach quite a few times.
We asked Zach, and he goes, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, Lord of the Ring, The Two Towers, Lord.
I'm Clash of the Trilogy is one film, so they split up for economic reasons. I watch.
Fair enough.
I watch them all together. I don't care, because there's 6 books in the books anyway. So the books strategy 6 books.
Give it something else.
What is it? Jeez. If it's on, I always have to watch it with Field of Dreams.
Oh man, good one. Yeah, that's excellent.
Yeah,
my sons have still not seen Field of Dreams.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
it's got to be on the list.
Yeah. Sure. So I could watch that a bunch of times. Gosh, it'll change every day too. Like if you ask me tomorrow, it'll be different. But and Emily, I just love Emily.
You know what? That's one of Adrian's favorites, and I have it. I've never seen it.
Oh.
And it sits on my shelf, and stupidly, I just keep I don't know why. I keep pushing it off. Maybe it's just I'm not in the mood for something new. Maybe I'm not sure if that doesn't make sense. But anyways,
and you missed the boat on that one. You missed the boat on that one because it's so copied. But when it first came out,
is that right?
It was just it. You had never seen anything quite like it, and now it's kind of been done, like this the fast edit and all that stuff. You go, yeah, okay. But when you first did it, you went, it's just taking me on a roller coaster here. And
it's funny. It's funny. I have so many movies that I own that I have not seen.
Yeah.
And I've been going through a project where I slowly, with my family, we watch all my old VHS tapes one at a time.
Okay, great.
And then once I'm done, I put them in a box. And a good friend of mine, we actually recently just dropped off a box of 90 VHS tapes to him in Toronto, and he kept texting. We had left, and he just kept texting me. Oh my God, this movie! Oh my God, I can't believe! Oh, this one and this one! Oh, I can't believe it! And so but it's fun because number one, classics, so many classics, and number two, sometimes I've just had them and have never seen them.
Really?
So you watch these old classics that you've never seen before. And even, I just watched Little Miss Sunshine. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
But I just saw that for the first time.
Oh, really? Okay.
A couple months ago. So it's, you know what? There's so much content in the world.
Yeah.
You watch so much stuff. You watch so much TV, so many movies. I do. I try to soak it all in,
Yeah.
But still, there's so many great things out there. So I love getting I love hearing what other people love.
Okay.
So that way I get little, tips.
Okay. Some Like It Hot. Oh, I got to put Some Like It Hot back on that list. Okay, something has to go off. Some Like It Hot got on that list. Have you seen
I haven't. Is this Marilyn Monroe?
Yes, it is. It's Billy Wilder. Billy Wilder.
I think
directed that.
Yes. Is this just Is this Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend?
No. That's Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend. I think that's the one.
Okay, fair enough. I think my wife was watching that one and Some Like It Hot, and I did catch a little piece of it, but I have not seen the whole thing. So no.
Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon are dressed up as women musicians in an all-girl chorus because they're running away from the mob in Chicago because they witnessed the Valentine Day massacre.
Okay.
And it's Billy Wilder at his best. It's very fast, and it's still funny, and it's got the best last line of any film ever written. The last line is the funniest line ever.
Just hit me.
Nobody's perfect.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough.
And
right, well,
it's not a funny line. Like, it's kind of like, but the context and the delivery.
The context of where
it came in. And that was Billy Wilder's, like, that's the line we're going to put in now until we find a better line. And then the actor hit it out of the park. And he went, that's it. It is that line. And it is the best line ever. They thought, okay, what will be a better line? There's got to be something better than that. That's just too there. But it was just there.
Now, if people want to follow along with you, Gary, on your adventures, is Facebook the best for you?
Yeah, I'm Facebookable, and that's how I post all my stuff and my latest adventures.
You are a voracious Facebooker.
I'm pretty sure. Like, I'm pretty post whatever I'm doing next is up there. Yeah.
Amazing. Now, can you give us tell us a little something? Give us a little something. What's next for you?
Okay, I'm working like 4 projects right now, so like this is my life. But
yes.
I'll tell you one really interesting one that has a sort of a Kitchener. I mean, not sort of a big Kitchener thing. Several years ago, I was commissioned by the Women's Crisis Services Center. I'd worked with them before. I'd done a couple of videos with my one of my partners I worked with, which is Dwight Storing. He's a local documentary filmmaker, writer. And so Dwight and I worked together a bunch of times, and they said, "We love your videos." And they said, "Gary, you do a play." And Dwight's written short one-act plays. He's a writer, but he's a documentary filmmaker. So, and I said, "Yeah." She said, "Could you write a play about domestic abuse?" And I thought, "There's no way I can write a play about domestic abuse." But I said, interesting. I've been wanting to do a verbatim play, and verbatim play is basically a documentary play where you do interviews, and the play is just what these interviewees say. I said I could do a documentary play. So we would interview women who have been in the abusive situations, and the play would be just their text. And I said, what is a really powerful way of doing that is actually doing that as a reading piece. So you have community members, you have the mayor, you have the chief of police, you have all these community members reading this text. And it's a very powerful story, and we'll assemble it like a play.
Yeah.
And so we had a bunch of women who abused. And in the middle of all of that, while we're working on that, we're at the Women's Crisis Services, and they're saying, they've been so troubling watching the trial at the time with the Denise Bordeaux murder trial. She was the Indigenous woman that was murdered by her boyfriend, and she was dumped by the Grand River. And there was a murder trial about 5 years ago. And the murder trial was happening in the middle of all that. And I said, it's interesting. I said, there's this kid I used to teach, and he's been posting about it every day. He must be connected. I'll reach out to him. So I contacted this kid named Zach. I said, "What's your connection to the crisis services?" And he says, "That's my aunt, and I'm the spokesperson for the family, for the press."
Right.
And I told him we're doing this page about domestic abuse. Do you want to talk to us? And he said, "I need to talk to you." I said, "Okay. So we're doing interviews right now. What about tomorrow?" I said, 4 o'clock. He says, "No, the trial ends at 4:30, and I have to talk to the press. How about 5?" I went, okay. So he came. And I said, he said, "Oh gosh, I was just out there." He was just like trying to get out of his head. And I said,
"Right.
So tell me about your aunt." And an hour and a half later, he told his whole story. He says, "Okay, that's it." And we're like drained. And then the trial went on. And basically in the murder trial, they had to go to trial. They knew who did it, but they had no proof. Basically, her body was found by the Grand River, but it was found like 3 months later. So there wasn't enough evidence, like animals had got to it. So they didn't know how she died, let alone who did it. So, but they kind of knew he did. They all knew he did it, but they just couldn't prove it. And in the middle of it, just before the trial happens, Denise Bordeaux's mother found a letter that she had sent to her that she had written to her boyfriend, telling him that she was going to leave him because the abuse has been bad. And she said, I know you said if I ever left you, you would kill me and dump my body when nobody will ever find me. That was in the letter. And that was read at the trial. And then the family gave us the letter and said, would you like to have that? So we have an indigenous woman in the play reading that, and the murder trial, and then he eventually got jailed. So that becomes part of the play, and that was like the huge part of it. And then the missing.
So we're going to cry.
Cry. And so I did that play. And so I did that play, and it was a bunch of times. And then a bunch of people asked us if we could do that. And again, I said, well, this was for a fundraiser. So we talked to the Women's Crisis and said, people want to do that. And I said, I'll be happy to do it, but we just won't take any royalties from it. And then they'll do it for a fundraiser. And then when I was in Tunisia, I was talking to this artist there, and I told her this play, and she said, I'd like to do an Arabic version of that. And then we became really good friends. And so we started talking back and forth. And now this crisis, everything shut down. So Zooming, we've been Zooming for the last 6 months. And she said, I'm going to do Arabic. Like, I'm not going to translate. I'm actually going to interview my own women. And she said, I'd like to do it in another country. And then I was being interviewed on a Zoom meeting like this from this company in Mexico. They were talking about what artists are doing around the world. And afterwards, I talked about this woman I was doing this piece about domestic abuse, and we're going to do English and an English part of it and an Arabic part of it. And we're looking for another partner. And she said afterwards, I want to be the other partner.
Right.
And so we have the three of them, Giselle, and myself. Where three of us are working about domestic abuse. So I've already had my core, and my play was originally 12 characters with White. Our play was 12, and now we're just having the murder trial is all we're dealing with, and then they're doing their piece as well. And then we're going to hopefully bring it up to Canada, and we're talking about taking it to Turkey and Russia.
Wow, amazing! That's very exciting. Very exciting.
Yeah, so that's
you live in a very interesting. I don't know. It seems wonderful. A very interesting life of a cultured and world traveling artist. And so I really appreciate you being on the show and sharing kind of some of your history, like a taste. So I hope that people hunt you down on Facebook. I'm gonna put some links to some of your stuff in the show notes when it goes up on the site, and I just hope people continue to support you, but support the arts and all this great stuff that's happening in
a great city. Kitchener, we have such a vibrant art. I mean, like what we're doing. Like there's so many of us who just kind of bang into each other and go, we should work. We should do something.
This is it.
Yeah, we should do something, Jay.
Yeah.
I have something. After the show, I'm going to pitch something to you.
All right, this is amazing. All right, well, thanks everybody. I hope you enjoyed. And as always, I don't know who we're going to talk to next week. Next week's a mystery, but we will see. And if we don't have a special guest, then we're going to give you guys a quick update on how everything is going with Shifted and our horror feature that's in post-production right now. But until then, dream big and work hard.
Thank you, everybody.
Really hope you enjoyed the show.
Wherever you watched or listened, please leave us a comment or a review. We really want to hear from you.
Share the show with a friend. You know they'll love us.
Head over to our website, thefableforest.com. There's all kinds of great stuff.
Poke around. Check it out.
See you all again in a couple weeks.